Valentine's Day. For some of us, it's a time filled with flowers and chocolate, and if you're really, really lucky, flowers made of chocolate. But for most of us, it's a cry in the shower and a sad wank to All By Myself by Celine Dion. So essentially, it's just like a regular day for me. St. Valentine's Day, also known as the Feast of St. Valentine, originated as a Western Christian feast day where they celebrate a saint or two named Valentinus. And yes, I did say a saint or two on purpose because apparently there was more than one bloke called Valentinus. Maybe it was like the ye old answer to the name Jake. You know, it's just every other man. Valentinus. Valentine's Day also has a huge history of martyrdom, which is essentially just a fancy way of saying a lot of people died for love. Perhaps the most well-known story of martyrdom is that of St. Valentine, who was arrested by the Romans for marrying soldiers who weren't allowed to marry. And this is essentially what happened. Yo, Valentine. Hey man, what's up? If you just like unmarry everyone and say you're sorry, like we'll forgive you. You can just go. What did you just say? I said if you just like unmarry everyone and apologize, we'll just let you go. So he said no, and then the Romans killed him. But not before he could allegedly write a letter to his lover and explain why he's willing to die for love. He then signed this love letter, Love Your Valentine, which is why we now address each other as Your Valentine. Which is a bit bizarre as a concept, because could you imagine if he had a name that wasn't Valentine? It was like Gerald. Imagine if he was called Herbert. We're gonna say, you're my Herbert, be my Herbert. Will you be my Herbert? It's just not got the same ring to it, has it? I'd like to thank Valentine's mother for calling him Valentine and not hitting us with a Herbert. You know, that would have really sucked. Anyway, it's about Valentine. I got on with the point of the video. In recent years, Valentine's Day has been less about showing love to the person that you're actually with and more about showing how much you love that person to people you've never met on the internet. Because we all know that spending lots of money on someone is directly proportional to the amount of love that you have for them. And because of all this chauvinism, it's impossible not to feel kind of lonely on Valentine's Day. And so I thought, hey, what if there was an easier way for us to be able to find the perfect person? You know, what if there was an easy way for us to be matched with a Valentine? Because there are 7.8 billion people on this planet, which I know because I Googled it. And that makes it exceptionally hard to find the one, you know, who is worthy of this chocolate rose. Because you don't want to be giving this out to just anyone. You know, that's real love right there. And so I was thinking, like, what if there was some kind of test that would help us rule out most of the people that we were probably never going to get along with, save us a bunch of time, and we could just date within a specific pool of people that we knew were compatible with us. And that's when I stumbled across the Myers Briggs test. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Myers Briggs test is, I'm going to break it down. Yes, I'm aware I've made that joke on this channel before, but it's just a classic at this point. So the Myers Briggs test is a questionnaire of around 90 questions, all with forced choice answers, which means you can only give a select number of responses. The test measures you on 4 main parts of your personality:
extroversion versus introversion, sensing versus intuition, thinking or feeling, and judging or perceiving.
Once you've filled out the test, it will measure your responses and pop you into one of 16 different personality types. These 16 personality types are shown in a combination of 4 letters. These letters are just placeholders for which parts of the testable personality aspects you scored highest on. E stands for extroverted, I stands for introverted, S stands for sensing, whilst N stands for intuition because you already took I for introverted. F stands for feeling, T stands for thinking, J stands for judging, and P stands for perceiving. So your personality type is dictated by how highly or lowly you scored on each of the measurable characteristics of your personality. And once you have your personality type, it has all kinds of different insights about you and your life and how you perceive things, but it also can tell you about how you function in relationships. Now, this is the bit I'm particularly interested in. There are certain personality types that they say cannot categorically be together, and there are other types they say are 2 peas in a pod. So it got me thinking, could the Myers Briggs personality test help you decide a Valentine? If this personality test could help you find out which personalities you were most compatible with, it could help you cull the herd. Make sure you don't give your chocolate rose to the wrong person. So I took it upon myself to test this hypothesis in a very scientific and controlled way. I forced my boyfriend to take the quiz. I would say that me and my boyfriend get along quite well, as you would hope, considering we live together. But you know, if Myers Briggs says that our personality types are in fact not compatible, I will bin him, because I do not want to waste this chocolate rose. So me and Jean both took the test to try and find out what types we were and what insights that would give us into our relationship, to see whether it actually made any sense or if it's all just bullshit. Now, we did a free online version of this test, so it was a little bit simplified. But when we got our results back, it literally said that the only difference between me and Jean was that he was introverted and I was extroverted. And if we look at the personalities in the population, Jean is actually the rarest personality type, whilst I'm a little bit higher up. A little bit of a commoner. I did some research into the most compatible personality type with my personality, and literally the first thing that came up was Jean's. Like, Jean was the first result. Me and Jean are the most compatible personality types for each other.
Boring!
Now, going into this video, I didn't know that we would be the most compatible personality types, so I think it's just incredibly interesting that Myers Briggs thinks we are. And so I guess it's kind of proving my hypothesis, because we get along great, so Myers Briggs may actually, you know, you might actually be onto something here. So, according to Myers Briggs, I found my perfect valentine. And that perfect valentine is shockingly my boyfriend. So in conclusion, do I think that you should judge your entire dating life based off the results of the Myers Briggs test? No! But do I think that the Myers Briggs test does have some good insight? Yes. Now, the Myers Briggs test isn't by any means a comprehensive enough test to tell you all about your personality and the way you live your life, because to be honest, I think there's more than 4 categories that make up your personality, but it does give you a general insight into the way you think and feel if you answer the questions honestly. And to be honest, even though it's pointing out clear differences between me and Jean that could be issues for communication, it also gives you insight into how you could be more empathetic for that person's differences and how you can approach the differences in a way that will be understandable for both of you. And I think that that's actually quite a helpful thing for it to do. Do I think that the Myers Briggs test is comprehensive enough to tell you enough about your personality and other people's to say whether or not you'll be compatible? Kind of. I think it clings to some very basic truths about your personality, which make up an integral part of it. For example, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, that could obviously have an impact on your relationship with that person moving forward. But do I think you should judge whether or not you are compatible with a person based entirely off this personality test? Not really. So was this video kind of pointless? Yes, but you watched it anyway, so it was mutually beneficial for the both of us. On a very deep note though, if you are feeling kind of sad and lonely this Valentine's Day, just remember, you're not spending ridiculous amounts of money to show people on Instagram how much you love a person. And you're also not gifting people chocolate in the shape of a woman's arse bent over. That's right, everyone. If you didn't know, a heart is just the shape of a woman's arse. Here we are. Here's the booty cheeks. Here's her legs. Just imagine a body bent over here. Yes, a heart is an arse. There you are. The joke's on them. They think this is romantic. Really, it's just mild pornography. Happy fucking Valentine's Day. If you liked the video, give it a cheeky little thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. But I'm only giving my chocolate rose to those that give it a thumbs up, because I believe in favoritism. I'll see you next Wednesday, gang. Kisses to your mother. But not like naughty kisses. Like really PG peck on the cheek kind of kisses. I don't want to snog your mum. Or do I? If you have any questions about the Myers Briggs test, about how it came to be, or about a comprehensive evaluation of whether it actually does work or not, please check out the Practical Psychology Myers Briggs Explained video that I have linked in the description. They do a really easy and simple run through of the whole thing, and they also show some criticisms of it and some evaluation of it, which I obviously didn't cover in this video. Also, I have linked in the description the personality test that I took if you would like to take it yourself. It is free and it takes around 10 minutes, so give it a go and let me know in the comments down below. It'd be really interesting to find out your personality type. And as always, thank you for watching this video. I'll be back next Wednesday. And no, I promise you, I don't want to snog your mother. I don't know why I said that. I apologise.
I can't feel my face, no, faking on a Sunday.